Good morning, everybody. My name is Queen Angela. I'm here to talk to you about coming out transgender at age 49. As you can see, my voice hasn't changed. I've been on hormones for 4 months, and hormones don't change your voice. But I want to talk to you about the challenges of coming out as transgender when you're 49. I came out when I was about 46. It took me a while. It takes a while to get on hormones. I'm going to talk to you about that. I'm also going to talk to you about the challenges in society. Um, Coming out is also a challenge. Also, I had family. I have a son who's now 22 years old. I had 3 stepdaughters. Also, you have neighbors, family, obviously my parents, um, all the people in your neighborhood. I had actually moved in my neighborhood, so that wasn't an issue for me. I have a kind of a significant background, so I'll talk to you about that. I'll talk to you about my childhood, um, some of the questions, some of the things that you have to go through in order to go through hormone therapy, some of the things in order to get on hormones, um, what you need to do to get bottom surgery. I haven't had that yet. There's a 4-year waiting list. It's all covered by the government if you don't have the money. In Alberta, Canada, it's covered by Alberta Healthcare Services. Um, as you can see, my facial hair is smoother. My hair is softer. My skin has become smoother. My breasts have increased in size. It takes probably 6 months before they're fully changed. I probably only go to about an A cup. But yeah, I want to talk to you about, first I'll talk to you about my childhood. When I was a child, my grandmother took care of me quite often. And I remember my cousin and I running around in her clothing. And she kind of scolded us for doing that, running around in her dresses and stuff like that. Um, she was a real lady. She would go to the golf club, and back then there was like a ladies' club and a men's club at the golf club. And we'd go, as children, we'd go on the ladies' side of the golf club and hang out there. And so we would hang out with the ladies. So maybe that's partly why. Not why, but that's where I got hanging out with the ladies. I thought that was pretty fancy. So, um, also, later on, um, I had an uncle who he really belittled me. Um, he was the oldest sibling in my father's family of 7. Um, he's my dad's oldest brother, Uncle Larry, and he had 4 daughters. And in grade 4, my parents divorced, and I went to live with my Uncle Larry for half the school year. And I was in my aunt's class in school. She was a teacher, and he was a superintendent of schools. And he always would be like, Michael, I'm Angela now, but he'd be like, Michael, do this better, do this better. But he actually took me into the shower on a couple of occasions and he, I would say, molested me. He would grab me down there and say, "Keep it clean, keep it clean." And since then, I always, I don't know, I couldn't have sex with women unless they were very clean, or I had to have women that were not, not sluts or whatever. I had to make sure that women were very clean women, or whatever I thought happened to be clean women. So I did have girlfriends in high school. I probably have had sex with as many women as I can count on two hands, maybe 7, 8 women in my life. Um, I had maybe 3 girlfriends in high school, and they were good relationships. But I don't know if I use them as cover or whatever. But coming out at 49 years old in 2018 really is when I came out. I mean, the world has come a long way. Kids are coming out now. Imagine when I was in high school, I remember I was in Banff, Alberta, Canada. There was a gay guy running through the high school field in like tight lycra pants playing football. And one of the guys in my grade 12 class and another guy were laughing at him and bugging him on the school field as he was an older gentleman. He was obviously gay. They were playing football on the field and they were laughing at him and bugging him. Later on that night, they were drinking and on the town, and they end up getting in a fight with him, and they end up breaking both of his arms and putting him in the hospital. So that was the kind of thing that I grew up with. So being gay and coming out at that time in the town where I grew up was just not heard of. It was not something that I would do. And the F word faggot was obviously not, was a very common thing that I would hear. And there was just no culture for being out. And I can't say that I was fortunate to leave Banff, but I didn't leave Banff until, I finally left Banff to move to Winnipeg. I had a son when I was about 23. I met my girlfriend in Banff. I was lifeguarding at the high school, at the swimming pool at the Banff School of Fine Arts in when I was 21, and she had 3 small daughters as well. And we moved to Winnipeg with her to live near her parents. And I got out of Banff, but I still wasn't out of the closet because I was with her. And then we moved back to Banff and back to Winnipeg, and then I was back in Banff. And then I kind of had separated from my friends in Banff a bit after I finally split up with her. But I was in the closet. I kind of had like a suitcase of women's clothes. I'm sure anyone watching this who's transgender or a cross-dresser knows what that's all about. You kind of have your secret women's clothes and stuff like that. And you're thinking about maybe coming out and you want to make the move and make the switch. Well, I'll tell you about how, in order to actually make the switch and become fully transgender and go on hormones, you have to go to a counselor. or a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and you have to do an assessment in order to go to a medical doctor who will prescribe hormones. And the assessment consists of about 5 sessions with a psychiatrist or a counselor who can do this professional assessment. And the assessment, after the assessment is done, they'll write a letter, a professional letter that they present as a referral letter to the medical doctor. The medical doctor will then read the letter, and then you'll go in, and it'll only be about a 15-minute session with the doctor, and he'll start prescribing hormones. Then you'll see the doctor every 3 months, and he'll sign you up for bottom surgery, and he'll say it's a 3-year, 4-year wait, and you'll be signed up for the bottom surgery as well. You'll start taking hormones. Your skin will start getting softer, your breasts will start growing, your hair will get softer, your hips will grow differently, your belly will start flattening, and everything will start changing in your body. Your face will start reshaping as well. The, the assessment consists of tons and tons of questions. Now, remember, when you're doing the assessment, no, they can't tell you that there's no right answer. There's no right or wrong answer. They can't say, well, no, you don't pass. You don't, doesn't look like you're a suitable candidate. You have to not do it. Doesn't look like you're not gender dysphoria. You just have to go in and tell them. And then when you go and see the medical doctor, he'll say, looks like you're interested in changing. Looks like you're interested in feminizing, aren't you? And you say, yes, I am. He'll say, okay. Now, one thing you have to take into consideration is, do you want to save some sperm? Because once you start your hormones, your sperm becomes inactive, and you can't, no, the sperm will no longer work, and it will basically die, and you can no longer make babies. So unless you freeze some sperm, which is fairly expensive, you can no longer have children. So you want to take that into consideration as well. So I didn't save any sperm. I already have a son, and I thought, I'm 49 years old, I'm probably not going to want to raise any more children, so I didn't save any sperm. For me, coming out to my family was okay because my mother and my sister already knew. My mom already had an idea because she's found women's clothes in my belongings a number of times. So she's always said, you've turned into a woman, a few times, because she knew I was using drugs. And but I think I was using drugs because I was hiding the gender dysphoria too much. So now that I'm out, I don't use drugs as much, or I don't use drugs at all, actually. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about, I listen to motivational speaking often, very much. And yesterday I was listening to motivational speech, and it was saying that one thing you should do is do what you're best at. And there was a pitching coach for, not a pitching, yeah, a pitching coach for a for a baseball team, and he came in and he was talking to a player, and he may not have been a pitching coach, but he was a coach for a baseball team, and he was talking to one of the players who was a pitcher, and he said, "What's your best pitch?" And he said, "Well, I've got a good fastball, and I've got a good curveball, and I've got a good slider." And he said, "No, well, tell me, what's your best pitch?" He said, "Well, I've got a good fastball." And he said, "Well, work on your fastball." And so that summer, that fall or whatever, that winter, he works on his fastball, and he just worked on his fastball. So that winter, he worked just on his fastball. And the next season, he was playing for the New York Yankees or whatever. The New York Yankees won the World Series, and that pitcher was the lead-up pitcher, and his fastball helped win the World Series. So I've been working on a lot of different things. I wrote a book. I've been doing TikTok. I've been doing all kinds of different things, but now I'm going to start speaking. And my favorite thing to do is working on speaking and making videos and talking about gender dysphoria and speaking to you and speaking online and making these videos. So I'm just going to be working on this, and it's my best pitch, and that's what I want to do. So I want to help you, and I really want to help you get over everything you want to do and everything you need. So come to Queen Angela and come out of the closet or do what you have to do. It's different for everyone. When I was talking to my counselor about being transgender, she said there's some guys who will go to work every day and they work in construction, and they come home from work and then they put on women's clothes and they sit around and they have a beer, and that's fine for them. And then they go back to work the next day in construction, and that's good, and that's how they live their life. And there's other people who decide to just change their life completely, and they come out and they change completely. For me, that's what I did. I changed completely. I used to work in the oil patch, and now I'm completely coming out, and I'm going into a different career path, and my life is completely turned around, and I'm happier. I'm not using drugs. I had a bit of a life of crime before. I got into a lot of trouble. I lost a lot of things in my life. I lost my house. I almost lost my family, my mom, my sister, my son. But I've got them all back again in my life. And my life is happier. And it's all from being honest. And I was in a drug, I should say rehab. It wasn't a rehab, but it was kind of like that. I had a counselor in there, and one of the counselors there asked me, "Who was the hardest person to come out to?" And I said, it was probably myself. The hardest person to come out to was myself. And she said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, it really was." Because for so many years, when I first time I had an experience with a guy, afterwards I felt so guilty about it. Like I had the experience, and then I don't know if you've had this experience, but you think that, oh no, I shouldn't feel turned on about it. I feel nasty. Oh my goodness. you know what happened, and it took me like 6 months before I had another experience. I still felt turned on by it after, but I had to be drinking in order, and then I'd get turned on when I drank again about it. But it took probably 10 years before I finally was turned on more often about it. So, yeah, coming out to myself was the hardest thing. So, I hope this has helped. It helps me just to talk about it. Hope you could all share my experience. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments. I would like to post my book in the description because my book details a lot more about my life. It's an autobiography called Becoming Queen Angela. It can be found on Amazon. Yeah, so hope you enjoy. I think we've gone over a bit of the time I wanted to spend. Have a great day. Love you all. Love myself. Bye.